All right. Well, congratulations, Josh. So excited for you that you got the position. There was a lot of competition, so you did good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's awesome. You've been there for 9 days, and so love that you're here early. I hear good reports about you uh, being there early for work and staying late. And those are those are just you know invaluable skills, um, and little things that people often don't realize are important. So I want to affirm that and congratulate you on that. You had mentioned the three things that you were looking for in your next position. Um, when we talked April 25th were training, camaraderie, and people to look up to. So one of the things, Joshua, that people often do is they're not honest. Um, and when I say that, what I mean is that when you ask people how things are going, people might not think they're going well, but they won't say it. And so with me, I just need people to be honest. And if it's a two, it's a two. So I'll ask you 1 to 10 how you think. And I actually get more excited about twos than I do tens. So if it's a 10, it's great, that's fine. But a two, that gives a lot of opportunity to
Yeah,
improve the system and stuff like that. So 1 to 10, based on these 9 days, how would you rate the training? 1 to 10, 10 being the best.
I would say like an 8.
Okay, cool.
Just
And what do you like most about it?
there's just been good examples, and people always ask questions too if you ever need help with anything.
Excellent. And what would it take to get to a 10?
Uh, I'm not too sure. A lot of the stuff that's been difficult hasn't really been their problems or their fault at all. Like for example, I'm working on something where like I have to read somebody's handwriting, and their handwriting is tough to read. So it just makes it a little more difficult. But besides that, it's nothing really they're doing.
Well, so the thing that could be done in that is so I'm a fixer by nature. Like
Okay.
if I'm involved, something's broken. I say that with my 7 kids and 8 grandchildren, two more on the way. I'm like, if dad's involved, something's not working. Because if it's working, why would I even be involved in it? I don't know. It's just my nature to improve things. So I think, oh, that's such a great idea. Like what we need to do is be anticipating that. And so somebody in doing the review over work, we need to might a way to improve it might be, well, type things up or watch the handwriting. Like with me, I know how to write cursive, but I don't write cursive because even my regular handwriting is hard, and so a lot of times we're rushing through things and we're not being aware, hey, somebody's gonna have to read what I'm gonna have to do. And so I think even those types of things, see those types of things, um, um, at times. So even those things I think can be improved in the system. So I think those are
Uh,
suggestions that we're looking for.
it, it was a client's handwriting though. It's not anyone
Oh,
here. So like
oh,
it was check stubs that I was learning how to enter.
gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah.
clients are a lot harder.
To fix it, yes.
Right. That's a lot harder to go out
Yes.
and get them. Got it. Um, gotcha. Okay. Um, 1 to 10, the camaraderie. And again, if it's a two, it's a two. So there's no good or bad. Things are just whatever they are.
Um, I'd say it's a 9 for accounting.
What?
Like, I mean,
That's hilarious. I love
accounting's not really a like camaraderie, totally team-based thing or like job, right?
I did not
So
catch that when you first said it, but it seemed in. I'm like 9 for accounting.
yes, I mean, it's not really too much of a team-based job or like you're doing everything together all the time. But
Yeah. Um,
we get together, we eat lunch. I can always ask questions if I need it. It
okay.
it's really good.
All right. Um, any suggestions on what could be to improve?
No, sir.
Okay. And so that's an open invitation. Again, um, I've worked with a lot. My oldest brother is a CPA. I've worked with CPAs for over 30 years. I've never met two CPAs like Fred and Patty that it's insane to me how open they are to suggestions. They're not defensive. They don't like, like in accounting, sometimes there can be a lot of defensiveness and, well, this is the way it is, or they don't want, but that's not Fred and Patty. It's like they're just open. They just, and so it's an open invitation where you're free to share with, Elise or Kenny or Elaine or myself anytime and say, hey, here's an idea. We love ideas. So I'm a big believer that every system can be improved, but the only way it's going to be improved is if somebody says, hey, what about this idea? Like, I don't know that this idea is even practical. And so that's an open invitation. People to look up to 1 to 10, how would you rate that?
uh, Great people to look up to. Been here for a
Okay.
while. They're really smart. So
1 to 10.
10.
Cool. Excellent. Now, um, there's, have you gotten a chance to go through, have you gotten a chance to go through any of the podcasts? You did some of that before you were
Yeah.
hired, right?
Yes, I did. I haven't done too much more of it, but a
Okay.
little bit.
And so I think that that's probably, um, one of the most important things to go ahead and do that you can do. Um, Especially because they're podcasts specifically for, from most of them on this are going to be specifically for or with Fred and Patty. Some of them are not, but a number of them are. And so these are the things that they value. So I think one of the challenges that employees can fall into is they can fall into like an entitlement, like, well, I'm an employee and I'm entitled to this and this and this. They don't look at the owners of the company as clients. And when you think about it, like Fred and Patty, they're your two most important clients. Like, and so one career suggestion that I give, and my kids, they're funny. I don't think they listen to me as much as maybe they should, but they do listen to me. And the ones that do in their careers, my son, he's 25 years old, and he's always talking to his boss and his boss's boss and his boss's boss's boss, and he's asking them like 1 to 10, how am I doing in my job, and what do you like most about what I'm doing, and what would be something I can improve? And he's doing stuff that nobody else has ever done in advancement, in understanding, in opportunity. And his bosses just laugh and say, Ben, his name's Ben. He's like, Ben, we've never had an employee like you. Like, you're just weird, but it's in a good way because he's treating them as if there's customers. So he's always seeking feedback. What can he do to improve? And so I think those are good things. So understanding what do Fred and Patty, what do they think of work ethic? It doesn't mean you have to think like they think, but with clients and in business, you have to know what your customer thinks like. You may you may agree or disagree. It's totally up to you. I don't know if Andrea started there yet. I don't think she has. Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Um, and so she had a death in the family. Her grandfather passed away. And so I think she's going to be joining soon. She actually went ahead and did a podcast. I think it's underneath here, but I'm not sure. He did a podcast. I'm not sure where it is actually, but it's in here somewhere. And it'd be good for you to do a podcast. Have you ever done a podcast, Joshua?
No, I have not.
Are you interested in doing a podcast?
Yes, maybe.
Yeah, you would do well. You would relate to people, and you really don't have to do any preparation. You essentially what you're doing is you're commenting, and you and I, Andrea might join us, Elise might join us, Elaine might join us. So it just might be you and I, or might be others. But what we're doing is having a conversation about this podcast, or we're having a conversation about devotion. So what you do is you'd watch Fred and Patty's podcast, and then what you would do is you would then go ahead and we would have a conversation about it.
Okay.
Okay. You would think that team members would listen more to Fred or Patty or myself. But believe it or not, Joshua, they'll listen more to you than the three of us. Do you understand that or not?
Me personally, I would not think I'd think that way, but I guess if a coworker is looking at another coworker, maybe it's more relatable than looking up to a boss.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm not saying it's a good thing that they would listen more.
Yes.
I'm just saying that's human nature. And so a lot of times, there's all kinds of interesting stories. Like Amy Xie, she's from China. And the first 3 months, I told her everything she wanted to hear. So she really liked me. That's human behavior. If you tell people what they want to hear, they like you. So she did. She loved me for the first 3 months. She'd introduce me to all her Chinese friends and say, Mark he's the most smartest American, that I've ever met. I mean, she said that about other Americans, which was weird when I heard her say it. I thought I was the smartest. But anyways, that's okay. And then at 3 months, I told her something she didn't like to hear. Man, did she get ticked. And she's like, Mark, you don't understand Chinese. She was bad. And then I started laughing, which I'm socially autistic. So I guess when somebody's angry, you're not supposed to laugh. But I did. I said, that's funny, Amy. I said, you know what? When I was over in Russia, you know what they said? Mark, you don't understand Russians. When I was in Africa, you don't understand African. My wife says, you don't understand women. My kids say, you don't understand us, Dad. Like everybody's saying, you don't understand. And when we think other people don't understand us, then what happens is we can't learn from them.
Yes.
And so what they do is people will dismiss, men dismiss women, women dismiss men, older dismiss younger, younger dismiss older. Like everybody's dismissing everybody, and nobody's learning from anybody else other than people just like them, which is not the smartest thing, in the world to do. And so people, you'll have different experiences, different personalities, you come in from a different perspective. And so don't underestimate your ability to impact the company and impact your peers in the most amazing way. And it gives you some invaluable career experience too. And then you might go ahead and, Fred and Patty might go ahead. They might say, wow, hey, that Josh was good. That's a good podcast. And then, because, when you look about the values, hard work ethic, this is not just Fred and Patty that are interested in it. Like every business owner in the world, every partner, every CPA that's a partner, they want to, because you got to have this stay in business today, probably more so than others. Devotion, the dedication. The same thing is true. And so, with younger people entering into the workforce, I don't know if you've seen like a Snoopy's Christmas on TV.
Not really.
Yeah. So it's funny. So, Charlie Brown and, Charlie Brown, and when it's on TV, the kids are all talking and you can understand the kids. And when the adults talk, it's wah, wah, wah. It's,
Yeah.
it's the funniest thing. And that's what kids do is they often tune out, they often tune out adults, but adults often tune out kids too. And so, but it's funny that he sees that nuance. And so I think that it could be great for you guys as clients to where they would watch your podcast literally, and they say, wow, this Joshua guy, like he's different than other people in his generation. And that's good for the client. They would maybe share it with their employees. They would bring value. That would bring value to the firm. It's just a win-win situation. And so when you and I are from a different generation,
Yeah.
I'm 60 years old, and you can, on the podcast, you can say, well, Mark, I have a difference of opinion, or I have a different perspective. Here's my perspective. And when, there's a lot of people out there that are your age. There's a lot of people out there that are my age, but there's not a lot of people out there your age and my age that are having interesting conversations about interesting topics to say, when you share something, I go, that's interesting, Joshua. I wouldn't have thought of that. Or I would look at things this way. And so how do you have a difference of perspective, but still have respect and understanding? And I think I learn a lot more, honestly, from your generation than I do my own generation, honestly, just saying. And so there's these different podcasts, and none of them are over 30 minutes. And the lower, the less, the shorter they are, the better they are in doing that. Let's see here. Is there anything that you wanted to accomplish, Joshua, specifically today in our conversation?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So periodically, you and I will meet. Elaine will go ahead and I don't know if you've met Elaine, so she's part of the coaching team. So she will go ahead, and I think on Friday she will email you going forward and just ask you, how the week go, summarize the week. So there's a bunch of rules that I have in my life that I live by. and so these rules are a bit unusual. You and I don't know each other good enough, so I won't share all the rules with you, because you might go, man, that guy is strange. He is one, man, he is a strange dude. And so as we get to know each other, you'll get my sense of humor, and you'll be like, he's strange, but he's kind of a cool strange. It's kind of interesting. And so one of my rules is that I never want to be asked twice to do anything. This is a rule I apply to business, and my goal is to never even be asked once to do something. And so when I got out of college, I had 6 job offers. I took the one that I didn't want, the most risky one, and then I struggled with it, saw success. But in the 4 years, I went from, beginning all the way to VP of sales with an equity position in the company in 4 years. And one of my secrets was I never had to be asked twice to do anything. And there was twice that I had to be asked once. And I remember once being asked to do something. I'm like, Mark, you are such an idiot. Like, why did the president, the owner of the company have to ask you? Why didn't you know this? Like, I'm really hard on myself. And I believe that, if I'm harder on myself than anybody else is around me, I'll never get defensive, because it's like, if somebody says, Mark, you're kind of sloppy, I'm like, if they have to tell me that, and so what I try to do is like Wayne Gretzky was a famous hockey player, and people ask him, "What, Mr. Gretzky, why were you so successful?" And he said, "Because most players are going where the puck is at. I'm going where the puck is going to be, currently at. I go where the puck is going." So what I try to do is, when I was your age, what I tried to do is I tried to go ahead and anticipate what the business owner was looking for, what the customers were looking for, and tried to get there before, they even asked me. And I'm telling you, when you get good at that, man, do people like working with you. Customers, they're just like, holy cow, the guy, you probably, I should go ahead, maybe on our podcast, I'll reference some of these. So I don't know that you've ever watched the TV series MASH.
No.
Yeah, probably not. So there's this guy on there, and they called him Radar. And he was like an assistant, but he always knew what people were thinking before they thought. And so he was indispensable because people always knew. And so I remember, growing up, I didn't watch a lot of TV, but I watched that after we got married, actually. And I'm like, that is such a great skill for seeing career success, is anticipating what's needed, before it's even asked for. So I think some of those things, and then again, always being honest. People, I think, it's like they're afraid, especially when they're new team members, new employees. They're like, well, I don't want to create waves. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't want to. So you see things that maybe we see, and it just reinforces it. And so it might push it to a higher level. Or you'll see things, and especially younger, inexperienced, like people that are gaining in their experience, they're like, well, I don't know if this is really important, or I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Like they're almost too humble in where they don't think what they're seeing may have value, but it might have tremendous value, something we didn't even see before. So make sure you're being honest, you're sharing those types of things. If you want to, like Andrea and I, we've kind of developed a friendship, which is kind of interesting. Like I asked her, I said, hey, I'd be really interested in doing a podcast, when I interviewed her. And she followed up with me and she said, I'm interested in doing that So she takes initiative, which I find really interesting. So, off hours and weekends, she'll email me and we'll just talk. And it's pretty cool. I mean, it's neat to go ahead and do that. And there's a podcast on Saturdays, that's at 8 o'clock Eastern time. And it's an interesting podcast. We go through some interesting videos, and then people just share. And so she's joined with some of those things. So I think one of the things, it's interesting, where we pay a lot of money for college, and they give us homework and we have to do a lot of work outside of school, and we're paying them. And then when we graduate and get a job and we get paid, we often don't do work outside. We're getting paid. And it's like, I think people, once they graduate from college and they get a job, I think we should be putting as much or more time into our own development. And it's not just the CPA. You might, because you're going for the CPA, right?
Yes, I am practicing right now.
Okay. So there's 4 sections, right?
It's a little different now. There's like 3, and
Okay.
then I already forget what it's called, but it's like a concentration. But
Okay.
it's like you could pick tax, you could pick
Oh,
yeah, I think they're making it easier, but then also a little harder now because you need your master's, basically.
Interesting.
So
Okay, gotcha. So, um, so there, I want to create section 4 for the CPA exam.
yeah.
And it's funny because I'll say that, I'll say, to people who have been CPAs for a long time, I'll say, yeah, there's a section 4 of the CPA exam. They're like, really? I'm like, oh yeah. And they're like, I thought there was only, when I went through it, there were only 3, but Mark Boersma is going to have a section 4. And the section I'm going to create, and you could actually help me create it. It'd be funny. It's like a humorous joke. It's like, CPAs, it's like, here's section 4. Can you pass the exam? And these are things that I would think that CPAs should know. Like, how can you not know this? But they don't. And a lot of it's in the people, in the understanding of the people and the how to deal with people and work with people and all of those kind of things. So I've been wanting to put together a section 4 of the CPA. And so if you want to, you can push me and say, Mark, how you coming? Because it's kind of humorous. But I think it's also I think it would be very educational as well. And so that'd be fun. Joshua, anything else that you'd like to cover today?
Mm, I mean, what videos you recommend watching first?
So
The
I'll
podcast.
go ahead and email over to you, a couple options and stuff like that. And
Okay.
so, are you familiar with the phrase "go down a rabbit hole"?
No.
So, going down a
Well,
rabbit hole,
like getting really into something and just keep repeating, like watching something similar.
yeah, it's like you go down one, and all of a sudden there's 3 more, and then you go down that rabbit hole, and then you go 3 more, and it's like this infinite, like black hole. Um, and this is kind of how I am in my world. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful about with Mark. Don't go down the Mark Boersma rabbit hole because this is I have a lot of free time. My wife and my kids say, Dad, you have way too much free time. And so uh, if I can find it, yeah, here it is. So here's my journal. I didn't start journaling until I was 40 years old. I'm 60 now. These are different things that my mind, like I jokingly say on a number of podcasts, I think I do about 15 podcasts a week. I got a lot of free time on my hands. Like I don't know what to do with it. That's why you're free to email me anytime, and it can be personal, professional, it's whatever. And so these are different journal entries. These are all models that I've created about business and life and careers. And anytime I get a problem, I try to figure out how to go ahead and create a model, for that problem. And so, you can go ahead and, so I'll give you a couple. Fred and Patty's podcast, obviously, they're your number 1 and number 2 clients. Those are your 2 most important clients. So anything they share, their podcasts are number 1. But then there's the Saturday group that is really intriguing. And so that group there goes through powerful video libraries. So these are different short videos that over the years that I've run across that I think are life changing for me. So they're typically, 3 to 7 minutes long. So they're really interesting podcasts. And this is what we're doing on Saturday now. And so people watch the podcast, and then we come together for a half an hour on Saturday, and we go ahead and then we go ahead and discuss it. So it's really interesting when you go ahead and have a 3-minute video and you have 5 or 10 people or whatever all see what they saw, and you see how little we see. Like, I saw this, but I didn't see this, or I didn't connect that dot there. And so I'll get you over this here. So these are kind of very interesting videos that are like, it's an interesting way to, to look at life. And so then you can and then has anybody explained to you the concept of manage up and out?
No.
So the concept of manage up and out, and then there's also a white paper library. So I'm writing my 18th book actually with Elaine, and it's titled Clean Windows. And the subtitle is Learning to See Things We Can't See. And so that's my 18th book I've written. I've written over 100 white papers. Are you familiar what a white paper is?
No.
So it's like almost like a report in school. Like it's a short book. It's typically, all my new white papers are 3 to 5 pages long. And then they have 15 to 20 pages of Q&A on them. And so there's a white paper library. And so these are interesting. I think these are really good career-wise. The first is, for phase 1 is learning to think differently. And so there's 3 to 5 page white papers you can read. So it's 10, 15 minutes. So after a podcast or after you read a white paper, whatever you do, these are personal. This is outside of work hours. These are personal development types of things. And after you read something or watch something, you can email myself. And if you want to include Elise or Elaine or Kenny, or if you want to include Fred and Patty, it's up to you. But there's 3 things that you share. You share, what, so what, WIFM is what's in it for me. It's a concept of selfishness. And so if you read that white paper, you'd say, this is the title of it. So we know which one you're watching, which podcast or what white paper you're watching. And then you go ahead and do 3 things. What did I learn? And what action am I going to take from what I learned? And then what do I need to learn next? So what did I learn? What action am I going to take from what I learned? And then what do I need to learn next? So those are the 3 things So what that does is it helps you to accelerate your learning. I remember when I turned 40 and I had this thought, and the thought was, dang, I wish I knew at 20 what I know at 40. So I'm like, man, if I'd have known at 20 what I know at 40, man, would that have been cool? And I'm like, I bet you, so that was 20 years ago. I bet you when I turn 60, I'm going to say, dang, I wish I knew at 40 what I now know at 60. So I'm like, I want my next 20 years to be accelerated learning. So I intentionally got mentors that were 20 years older than me. And then I asked them, what do you wish you knew? So they were in their 60s. What do you wish you knew at 40 that you know at 60? So what I did is I crunched down the learning. I wish somebody had told me that when I was 20. So if you can get somebody 15 to 20 years older than you, and you just ask them, what do you wish you knew at 23 or 25 or whatever your age is? And you say, what do you wish you knew back then that you now know? And it accelerates the learning. So what did I learn? What action am I going to take from what I learned? And what do I need to learn next? So those are the 3 things on manage up and out that you can do. So what did I learn? What action am I going to take from what I learned? And what do I need to learn next? The action, so we don't really deeply learn anything until we do something with it. Like most of college, most of reading, most of podcast, all of those things are superficial learning. If we don't take that and apply it in some area of our life, the application is what keeps us humble and helps us to have deep learning. So that's manage up and out. It's really simple, those 3 things. And then that will help me to learn from you. That you'll see things about the white paper and I've written them, and you'll see things I didn't even intend to write it. It's like, wow, that's brilliant. I can't believe he picked that up from it. So that helps me. I can share some things. And then at some point, Fred and Patty might want you to include, other people on the team. So when they start to see you learning, other people will follow your learning and they're like, wow, Joshua, like Andrea's, they're like lifelong learners. They're investing into themselves and their own development. Does that make sense, Joshua?
Yes, it definitely does.
Cool. Anything else you'd like to accomplish today, sir?
Nope.
All right.
Any
You
other
rock it.
advice or anything?
What's that?
Unless you have any other advice or anything you want to give me.
Well, I always got advice. My kids would say, Joshua, don't ask him that question. Do not ask. That would be a rabbit trail. No, I think you're doing great. I think what we covered in the last 30 plus minutes, you're a great student. Don't ever grow up. That's the advice I would give. Don't ever grow up. Don't ever. The more you know, the more you should know you don't know. Always be curious. Always be like, I can learn something from anyone at any time in any situation. And that will serve you very, very good in life. All right, sir. We'll see you. Have a blessed day.
Have a great day. Thank you for your
Thanks.
time.
We'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.